I couldn't even look them in the eye. I just blurted it out. Do I have a twin? Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. Have you ever thought that everything was complete, but then life decides to surprise you? This happened to me recently. I found my sister. This experience was a total roller coaster for my family. It was really shocking to me, but most of all, it was also our parents' biggest surprise. Can you believe that? Let me tell you my story. A few days ago, I was scrolling through Facebook when I recognized my face on the profile of an unfamiliar page under the People You May Know section. I instantly got scared thinking that a scammer gained access to my pictures and was now making a fake account with them. I wanted to scream. I decided to check out the page. The name on the account read, Faye Clark. Faye Clark? Who is this? I had never heard that name ever before. This girl looked exactly like me. She had my brown eyes and dark natural curls. She even seemed to also be around my age and size. I had no idea what was going on. The strangest thing in all of this was that I did not remember taking any of these pictures, and the sense of style was completely different. At that point, I was totally lost and confused. I had so many questions. I wanted to contact Faye immediately, but was so scared that I did nothing. The next day at school, I ran up to my best friend Christy to tell her the news. It was burning me inside the whole bus ride. Christy was my best friend since kindergarten, and we've always shared everything. She's like the sister I've always wanted. My mom usually picks her up on our way to school, but I was just not feeling it this morning, so I texted Christy and told her that I'd take the bus instead. I told Christy everything which had happened. She suggested that I talk to my parents, that maybe they could explain. But my parents never talked about a sibling. All this time I thought that I was their only child and longed for a sibling so much, and I had a whole twin out there. My parents had always been pretty fortunate. Therefore, I see no reason why they'd separate me and my twin. I decided to bring it up to them at dinner. So, I made a strange discovery last night. They both looked at me. I couldn't even look them in the eye. I just blurted it out. Do I have a twin? They both stared at me dumbfounded. Last night I saw a girl on Facebook, and she looked exactly like me. At first I thought someone stole my pictures, but then I realized her clothes were totally different from mine. I showed them one of Faye's pictures. Mum and Dad looked as confused as I was. I'm sorry, sweetie. We have no idea who this is, my mom said. Did you send her a message? No, I replied softly. I was so disappointed. I didn't know how to feel anymore. I'll try to contact her and see if we can arrange to meet, my dad said in sympathy. I asked Mum and Dad if I could contact her myself. When I went to my room that night, I sent a friend request to Faye. She quickly accepted and sent me a message. Hi, are we related somehow? Seems like she already noticed the shocking resemblance. I replied, that's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. I told my parents when I saw your pictures, but they told me that I did not have a sibling. They'd like to meet with your family if you're willing. Faye and her mother, Mrs. Clark, decided to meet with me and my family the next day at a cafe a few blocks away from our house. The next day was Saturday, so it was perfect for Mum and Dad since they didn't work on Saturdays. We met Faye and Mrs. Clark at 9 in the morning, and the resemblance was very shocking indeed. Apart from our difference in clothes and hair, we could have easily been mistaken for each other. Faye told us that her mother worked at the bank and that her dad was a doctor, but passed away a few years ago. They never got along, since he was a control freak and very abusive to her mother. We left with a shocking conclusion that Faye was actually 17 and I was 15. Mrs. Clark also told us that her husband actually kept her in the dark about everything after her miscarriage, which was 6 months before adopting Faye. Mum and Dad suggested that we should still take a DNA test and asked Faye and her mum if that would be okay. Now discovering that Faye was older than I was, I found it very strange that my parents would still want to get a DNA test, but everyone agreed. The results came about 3 days later. All this time I'd been getting to know more about Faye and we had been connecting pretty well. Her mother was a really nice and down-to-earth person. They didn't talk much about her dad though. She seemed really uncomfortable whenever the topic came up. We made a decision to open up the results together, so when it came, Faye and her mum came over to our house. It was actually their first time coming there. We always met at a cafe or the park. Faye was carrying a small package. My dad had not been home as yet, so we decided to wait on him. I gave Faye a tour of our house, while Mrs. Clark stayed with my mom. We talked about so many things, and we actually had a lot in common. We both would be delighted to be siblings. We'd get along so well. I guessed that my mom and Mrs. Clark were also having a good time together, as I could hear them laughing loudly downstairs. It was now dinner time and my dad was home at last. We all sat at the dinner table, eager to see the results. No one could eat, so we opened it. Everyone insisted that Faye should be the one to do it. She opened the letter and with a plain face she said, "Mr. Warrington, Mrs. Warrington, meet your new daughter." She finished with a wide smile. Everyone was so happy. Faye handed the small package to my parents. "I want to give this to you. Since we are now all a family, I think you should have this," she said. It was a picture of Faye with her parents. The way that I saw my parents' face change so instantly, I knew that something was wrong. "Wait, is this Mr. Clark?" my mum asked with a concerned look. Faye nodded. My dad said, shaking.
So, the reason that we wanted to go along with the DNA test was because we actually had a daughter 2 years before Rachel was born. It was actually premature birth, so I was out of the country at the time and could not get a flight home until 2 days later. I never heard back from my wife after labor, and when I got back she had actually been unconscious since giving birth. The doctor which had been taking care of her was actually Mr. Clark, and he told me that the baby had died, but they refused to show me the body. An investigation was done.
Mrs. Clark looked like she had just seen a ghost. I could not believe the words coming out of my dad's mouth. Is he implying that Faye had been kidnapped by Mr. Clark? Everyone was shocked and the police was called immediately. A full investigation was done and we found out that everything was true. Mrs. Clark and Faye actually moved into our guest house and everyone is really happy to be in each other's lives. Best of all, I've now found what I've always felt was missing, an older sister. I thank you guys for listening to my story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comment section below.